Well, here we are, the fearsome twosome, and lurking in the background is old Ollie over there, boning up on what he's going to tell you this morning about the energy crisis, because inflation has hit 9% and is likely to nudge over to 10%. Inflation is something that we're just not used to, but it's getting a grip. And all that has to do a lot with how much we're paying for energy. And the new Ofgem decision to allow energy companies to have 3 separate caps throughout the year, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, he will give you all the good background about that on Mirador Television. Well, good morning, and here we are, starting with the fearsome twosome. I'm Keith Hayes, Mr. Keith, the mouth that roars, and here is my trusted ally, Max Hurd, who has rolled out of bed at 3 o'clock this morning to make sure that he's caught up with everything that's going on. Lurking across the room in the White Hart Hotel, which is where we're broadcasting from, is Oliver Hardy, who a fine mess you've got me into again, Stuart Dolby, with all the energy information you want, and then a few ideas about other things as well. Anyway, welcome, Max.
Good morning.
You have a good few days?
I've had a good week since the last time I was here, actually. It's been really nice.
That's good.
Lots of things, been very busy.
You were going down to some festival on Sunday to Brighton. Did you go?
Yes, I went to the Brighton mini run. I'm doing a school project on that, and I did some filming for Mirador as well. But at the moment, I've got 5 open editing projects which I need to finish. So I'm a little bit busy at the moment. But hopefully that'll be done within the next couple of weeks.
Good. Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing that. We played your view of Lewis 2 or 3 times in the last few days. It's a nice, gentle look at through the eyes of somebody who didn't know Lewis, and it's been useful to people. I think a bit surprised, A, that there were places they didn't know existed, and B, just how a stranger, as you were then, you're not anymore, a stranger views our town.
I did really enjoy exploring Lewis, having no idea where anything was. I just started walking around, and eventually I found some nice spots, got some filming there, and I ended up in the documentary.
And it took you down a Twitton?
Yeah, it took me
or
a couple. Yeah.
Right. Okie dokie. Right. Let's take a look at now. One would expect that the top of the newspaper headlines would be something to do with either the war in Ukraine, the cost of living, inflation, Bank of England, and so on and so forth. Not a bit of it. Not a bit of it. Half the papers have got a Tory MP has been arrested on a charge of rape, and the other is what they call Wagatha Christie husbands, is the WAG trial between Mrs. Vardy and Mrs. Rooney has now reached their husbands, the 2 footballers, who are exchanging their own war of words, and that is being reflected on the rest.
I hate how this is front page news.
Sorry?
I hate how that's front page news.
Yeah, well, I suppose, first of all, they have to look at sort of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to see what's happening. So they're well ahead of the game. But nonetheless, I'm a bit surprised, particularly since there are a couple of late news items. one on the war in Ukraine, which is the growing fears for the safety of the soldiers that were in the Azovstal steel plant, because even though they are supposedly being given safe passage, they're being given safe passage to Russia, or through Russian territory, and that's a bit alarming. And the inflation figures are now 9%, and it's my guess, and I'll be interested to see what Stuart has to say. It's my guess that it's going to hit 10%. I don't see how. I mean, it's on an upward surge at the moment, right? So those are the headlines. But the Daily Telegraph is there we go. A Tory MP held on suspicion of rape. What bothers me about these headlines is it's a Tory MP. Why not just an MP? I mean, it implies that it's the Tories that do the raping, and the other lot are pristine pure. We talk about bias, and sometimes it's easy to slip into bias and sort of point the finger as if only Tory MPs would be guilty of rape. Actually, nobody should be guilty of rape. It shouldn't occur. It's a heinous crime.
I didn't know where you were going with that one.
The question of rape, though, is still very much on the statute books because it occurs with alarming frequency, not necessarily in the Houses of Commons, but now, a girl can go to a party, and sometimes she is considered fair game just being at the party.
Well, you don't think it's happening in Parliament. I wouldn't be too surprised if, like, Jeffrey Epstein had his hands in Parliament.
Well,
I would not be surprised.
Nothing would surprise us. I think we just have to be careful not to go too far on speculation. There is no question that over the years we've had some very juicy stories. Most of them haven't come out until after the non-accused incumbent has either confessed or somebody has written his biography and said, guess what he was up to.
Or died like Jimmy Savile did.
Yeah. I mean, it is said that, in the hot bed of the cockpit of the debating chamber, which is the House of Commons, is that passions are aroused. And of course, the famous one was that the Prime Minister of the time, of the day, John Major, was quietly easing himself into the bed of I want to say Rebecca.
I don't know, when was this?
This was in the 80s, it would be, wouldn't it, or the 90s, and they were busy making sure that they were looking after each other and not looking after affairs of state. No, that's not fair. There was no suggestion that either of them were not good MPs. And it is the lady, and of course, this is the big problem of me, as you can see, salt and vinegar, or salt and pepper, rather, is I've got a young man next to me whose memory will improve with age, and mine is going with age. And Edwina Curry is who I was after. And she and John Major were quietly cozying up, and nobody knew about it until until she blurted it out on one occasion. Poor old John was, but they did manage to keep it terribly discreet and terribly quiet, and there was a lot of hand wringing and so on. Oh, here he comes! Come and get a chair. Would you get the old man a chair, and perhaps, if you don't mind, taking the gallery?
I'm much younger than you are.
Well, that we're not going to admit to that sort of thing. So
Actually, Max, can you have go and have a look at my wheelchair, would you? While you're up?
You go and oil the wheels in it. Yeah. Come and sit down.
Right.
Stop being a nuisance. Yeah. Oh, he's brought his coffee with him. Yeah. All right. There we go. Right now, don't stray, Max, because we'll need you on camera for time to time.
Yeah, no, I'm just getting my stuff out of the way.
Right. Okay. Good man.
Just checking the stream quality. It's pretty good, actually.
Who's that?
Stream quality.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's good this morning, is
Yeah,
it?
it's good this morning.
Oh, good. Oh,
Is
excellent.
this the? Has it been good since we went on the other?
Well,
Wi-Fi?
it hasn't been great, but it hasn't been bad either. So perhaps this thing is beginning to show dividends after all. Right, while the old man is getting stripped here, the Daily Telegraph leads with that. The Daily Express: police arrest a Tory MP over rape and sex offences. Once again, it's a Tory MP that they arrested, not just an MP. Bit of a worry, that I think. A bit of a worry. That's pointing a political finger and a bias. Oh, well done, Max. You're there. You're good for us. Yeah. Okay. The Mirror. The Tory MP rape arrest, but they have the Vardy situation, the Vardy Rooney situation, as a picture lead. And that in itself is the Wags. Frankly, I don't give a sod about the Wags, but it's like a lot of pop stars and so on and so forth. Is the wives of the footballers seem to they seem to get an increasing amount of interest. Are you interested in the Wags?
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest,
No.
nor me.
Nor
Just
me.
shows our age.
I'm not
Well,
interested in their partners either. Actually,
no. So actually, that headline leaves us a bit flat. The Sun, Wazatha. What was that about? Oh yes, the Wagatha trial, which is the Rooney issue. It erupted when the two husbands, the two footballers, started to fall out. The one said, "I warned him," and the other said, "I don't remember that." Well, I mean, the boys together, aren't they, when they're on these things?
What you've got to understand is that celebrities have dominated not just politics but also newspapers. How do you think that Murdoch made his fortune? By titillation, page 3. And now we've got all this incredible thing because people who read The Sun are really going to lap it up.
Yes.
Oh,
No.
it's like Boris, isn't it? That Wayne, he's a bit of a boy, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're quite right. Personality politics and so on. But tell me, I've forgotten. Why did they take away the page 3 girl?
I don't know. Maybe Murdoch had just come to the end of it.
Yeah, big tits on page 3.
Maybe he was fed up with bosoms. Yeah, I don't know. What else could he come think of? Well,
Right. Okay. Let's get serious because the Times leads on Sunak plans heating bill discounts and tax cuts. That's your bag. Heating bill discounts make any difference? Is it
fish
a
may
good
fly.
move?
Fish may fly. Actually. Yeah. How's he going to do that then?
Well,
Printing money.
yeah. Well, do you think so? Because I think one thing that is inflationary is printing money.
Well, that's their solution to everything for whatever reason. And they're like, "Oh my god, inflation! How did this happen?"
Well, I mean, there are other pressures, economic pressures. But I mean, you're right to say that printing money does stoke inflation. But if I was a prime minister or a chancellor, the last thing I'd want to do now is to print money. Because that really would send the inflation soaring above 9%, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, of course it does.
What do you two think inflation's going to hit then?
Well, they reckon it's going to be 10%, don't they?
Yeah.
But, that's very, very, very
What
high.
do you think it's going to cap at? Do you think it's going to go past like 15, 20, 30?
Oh, no. I don't think we've got galloping inflation in quite like that. But essentially, we've had virtually no inflation at all for almost, 20 years?
That it's been about 1%, hasn't it?
Yeah.
For a long, long time.
So people just aren't used to inflation. And now that it's hitting with a vengeance.
Wait, so in my lifetime, there's almost been no inflation?
No,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
apart from now,
That's right.
obviously.
Yeah, and now it's and I mean, inflation is one of the key things, particularly in the development of the European Union and taking on some of the places like or taking open market policies to places like Armenia and Estonia and so on and so forth. Their central banks really didn't know how to handle the open market, so conversion or reform of the central banks was a key plank in the EU's policy, and central banks were very much a part of the educative process. So perhaps some good has come of it.
Well, I think what you mean is that they're going to have one central bank. That was the idea, and the central bank has done very well in many respects because they've been very, very prudent about not, letting China have or doing something like loans and that kind of thing. But there comes a time, and really, the bank, if it is a central bank like this, has to do something about it. Now we've had this issue now about the Bailey, whatever his name is, not the old Bailey, but the Bailey who was the boss of our central bank, has said that interest rates it's also related to interest rates. You see, if inflation goes up, so do interest rates, and therefore they're sort of chasing one another's tails. If you see what I mean. The only good thing about inflation is if you've got a home and you haven't got a mortgage on it, because the housing inflation is incredible. I'm pleased to say. In my case.
Yeah.
But of course, it's for everybody, just about everybody. It's a bugbear. It's a killer, really.
Yeah. Now, how about this tax cuts? Because everything that I ever read is it's going to be 1p. So 1p in the pound is it's a 1% cut, isn't it? Is that going to make any difference?
Oh, that's just a gimmick for the 2024 election, isn't it? Because it's been an absolute promise that they won't make cuts. They won't do it. That's been gospel for 20 years, hasn't it? So Sunak, who's a bit of a kid, really, in many ways, he has decided, well, look, we'll just bung this in because, we're actually cutting taxes now. And you think that's going to win old Boris the election? Probably will.
Did they just
Boris
raise taxes for everyone?
Well, they have for everybody working, Max, because it's gone on national insurance, hasn't it?
Right.
So again, as I'm not, I do work, but I don't have a job, so to speak. Well, I do have a job as well, but I don't get a wage, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I get
we don't national insurance
doesn't affect
unless
us.
we're an employer.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect us.
Doesn't affect the old boy. This one.
No, certainly does not.
It affects me soon, I think.
I've paid enough of it in my time.
It's great. And what have they done? They spend it on nuclear weapons, haven't they?
I mean, it's beginning to look as if it might be a wise investment from the threats that are coming out of Moscow. The Guardian: Sunak faces a Tory clamour to act now on the cost of living. Now, it's all very well to say act now, but if you were Sunak, apart from the two things that we've just mentioned, what would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah, what would you do to act on? What does it say? To act now on the cost of living. How would you try to cap the cost of living?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Slit my throat.
Oh, well done, Ollie. Yeah, blood all over the place. I think there's enough blood all over the place at the moment to satisfy a lifetime. But I mean, are there things that you think that this government, or any government for that matter, let's not just point at this government, could do given the present circumstances? Rising cost of living, rising inflation, still COVID, still problems with Brexit, the economy beginning to drain, to weaken, a war in the offing, that we're getting more and more involved in, which is going to be more and more expensive. So, is there anything that you would do to actually improve the what did I say, the cost of living?
Well, it's just an accumulation of very, very bad policy making, isn't it, in various areas. And these things are going to come to the boil, like they did in 2008, basically. And then, for all people, Gordon Brown actually went round back beating the drum with people like Obama and so forth and so on, and they actually found a solution. And the solution was basically went back as far as 1945, when the president of America, what was his name in those days?
What year?
1945. It was
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, yeah. He actually broke all things and said the banks are too important to touch, and therefore he bailed out all the banks, and that's what Gordon Brown got him to do, and that really solved the problem. So you have got to bail out the banks now, and that's going to be very, very difficult.
Right. Is once again after they've dumped on us for 2 decades. The banks are going to come back to those people they've treated badly, and so they said, please approve money being pumped back into our coffers.
Well, it's very nonsense, because the taxpayer has to pay for it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And I hope that the banks will remember that. They won't. Right. Okay. The Mail. So that's why the Bank of England is helpless. What it's saying is, first of all, the Bank of England should have started action on inflation some time ago, because its job is to keep an eye on these things and on trends, and to react accordingly. And what it's really saying is that it should have raised its interest rates.
Interest rates are its only armor, aren't they? Yeah. It's only the weapon that you can actually use.
That's right. And now it's finding it difficult to use it.
Right.
But also it's then saying is its ability to handle these things is because staff are now working from home, and that it's actually made as an official policy that its staff will only work 4 days, maximum of 4 days a week. What's your view of this working from home, Stuart?
Well, I think it started off to be a very good idea, but ultimately, I used to find really that when I was at the Financial Times that you couldn't do it all from home, because you needed that face-to-face contact to thrash out editorial policy. So you you had to go into the office to actually get things ticking over. And I think that, and people get very bored working at home, kids are underfoot, and so forth and so on.
Well, I tried doing my schoolwork from home. It went terribly. I went into college during lockdown. I was the only one in college for 3 months or so with 2 teachers and just me. It was nice, but I find it difficult myself, because there's so much to do at home. Plus, I got dogs, I got siblings, things to distract me. I'll do it in 5 minutes. I ended up doing like a quarter of the work.
That's right.
Well, I used to find like that. I'll write an article today. Well, no, I won't. I'll do the washing up, and that's how it works, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, the windows need cleaning. I forgot about that.
Yes, exactly. Or somebody phones you on a non-business matter in the business day. If you're in the office, you treat it accordingly. If you're at home, it's very easy to put your feet up, make yourself a second cup of coffee, and take your eye off the ball. And I think what the paper is implying is that the staff at the Bank of England have taken their eye off the ball because they've been working from home.
I just Googled it. I looked up how much money did they actually print from the Bank of England in 2020 to 2021, from March to July. March 2020 to July 2021, they printed £500 million.
Yeah, well, that's bound. That's Weimar Republic, wasn't it?
Yeah,
well,
that's right.
Well, for young people, Weimar Republic was the period between First World War and the Second World War, when the government of the day printed money, and so that the country went tits up, as you might say, because
yes, all on the hope
because money
that,
became worthless,
They know,
basically.
they know
yeah.
it's a bad
Yeah.
idea. Why do they keep doing it?
Because they haven't got any alternative. That's all they can use is interest rates, basically, to try and. You remember that Black Tuesday, was it, when John Major was in charge?
Yeah.
And inflation went up to 15% before they could actually rein in the inflation, and that took a bit of time.
Yeah, well, I mean, interest rates were huge, weren't they? In
Yeah.
those during
Yeah.
that period.
What year was that?
It was-
17?
1992, I think.
Yeah, 92. It was just post Thatcher, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And she was deposed in 91, was it?
No, she was 92. Then
92,
John Major
yeah.
Major got the job again.
Right.
Heseltine, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Because Mrs. Thatcher didn't like Heseltine. She fancied John Major, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like that nice John Major.
Right now, your Financial Times, lowest unemployment in half a century stokes inflation pressure. Now, explain that to us.
No, I was wondering about that. How can it stoke, if they're unemployed, they're not paying any taxes, are
Yeah, that's
they?
right.
So how can that stoke inflation? I don't quite get it.
No, I don't understand that,
No.
and I thought that you would. But do you have any comments on that, Max?
I was just looking at how low unemployment is. I can't find anything. What was the sorry?
Yeah, well, what it's saying is that because we've got the lowest unemployment in a decade, that is helping to stoke inflation. And Stuart and I, reasonably experienced business journalists, both are taken aback by that suggestion. But if it's true, then it does need some sort of explanation.
What it might mean is that the government has to make money to actually get over the problem, like the furlough scheme, for example.
Right.
People are now beginning to ask whether that was necessary.
Yeah.
Because apparently people were taking the furlough and then buzzing off, working in other kind of jobs.
Yeah, I know people who did that.
Yeah, I think there were quite a lot of people who did that, wasn't it? Yeah.
But again, it's free.
Thank you very much. I'll take that and we'll nip down the road.
I mean, I can't blame them. I would have done the exact same thing.
No, I mean, it's a temptation. I'm quite sure that is true for some of us. It was a fight because the people weren't spending money on certain things, not least of which is the support of independent television and radio. Right now, here we are. The Daily Star. UFOs are real, and now apparently the American intelligence agencies have said yes, they are out there.
They said this over a year ago.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, they came out and said, "Oh yeah, there were these unidentified flying objects. They don't look like from this planet. We don't really know what they are."
No. Well, that's different to now saying there are little green men watching carefully what you're doing.
Whenever you say Little Green Men, I always remember a cartoon in the Daily Telegraph where it had two little green men arriving on Mars, right?
Yes.
And arriving on the moon. They came from Mars and arriving on the moon. After Neil Armstrong got to the moon, do you remember?
Yeah.
I think it was 1969, something like that. And one of the little green men said to the other, "I don't care whatever Neil Armstrong thinks. I think he should go back to where he came from." So they don't want migrants on the moon, you see.
Do you two think there are aliens out there?
I do personally. I all the scientific evidence suggests that we can't possibly be alone. Now, let me go back one. Life. Whether in fact it is highly developed and beyond our capacity, that's one thing. Or whether in fact it's back to the soup bowl and is full of creepy crawlies and monsters and so on, is another. What development it is. But I personally am convinced by everything the scientists have said, is that there is intelligent life out there somewhere.
What do you think, Stuart?
I'm agnostic. You know what that means, don't you?
No.
I need to be convinced.
Right.
Are you not convinced already by the Daily Star title? Is that not convincing?
Yes, the Daily Star says that they're there. What do you mean doubting it?
Listen, Max. In a lifetime of 60 years in the press, over 50 years in the press, I've learned, don't believe what you read in the newspapers.
Okay, let's just take a break where we can grasp our breath, and then we'll be back in half a minute. Okay, good morning. This is Mirador Television broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, East Sussex. It is 5 minutes past 9 o'clock. It is the 18th, is that right? Yes, the 18th of May in the year 2022. This is Stuart Dalby and Max Hurd, along with myself, Mr. Keith Hayes, trying to keep you entertained and informed all in one breath. We will go to Stuart in a minute because this is our energy morning. This is the morning that we actually do discuss energy matters in depth. Stuart does a program, Energy Matters, which he can't actually record until after we've finished this. And so he's going to give you some advice live. And we actually have a little icon somewhere, I think, to show for him. Yes, let's. You ready? Here we go. Energy Matters with Stuart Dalby. Energy Matters, Mirador Television. From the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, Energy Matters.
Me?
Away you go, my boy.
My turn, is it?
Yes.
Okay, right. Well, there's been some items in the news recently. One of, we have to go back really to I've done this before, so we ought to start. 1974, there was an energy crisis because the coal miners were on strike and there wasn't enough coal and there wasn't enough energy to go round. And Edward Heath, the Prime Minister, declared a 3-day week. And we were all sitting at home, cooking the soup over a primer stove and lighting the house with candles. And he lost his job because of it. But people after this discovered gas. There was an awful lot of gas in the North Sea. And that became the thing of the energy supply of the month, so to speak. And unfortunately, in early 1990s, I think it was, Margaret Thatcher, it was she, the old bag. Anyway, she privatized the energy suppliers. And this led to a oligopolistic cartel of 6 energy suppliers. They were British Gas, British. There was E.ON, German. There was EDF, French. There was npower, German. There was SSE, English, I think. There was Scottish Power, owned by the Spaniards. And they just dominated the waves. I mean, they could put the price up as and they felt like. And Ed Miliband, who was then, I think, the leader of the Labour Party, he said, if I get into power, I will bring in an energy cap. And he didn't get into energy. He didn't get into power, and therefore David Cameron, who did get into power, was spooked by the idea of an energy cap, and he asked the Competition and Mergers Authority what he should do. And they said, after a long delay, 2016, I think that was, that you should get people to switch to cheaper suppliers. But there weren't cheaper suppliers, but pretty soon a whole bunch of ne'er-do-wells and chancellors and, God knows what else, started forming energy supply companies. And they really weren't fit for purpose because they didn't know how to hedge which meant that if the gas price went up, they'd have to buy it on the spot market, which made it very expensive, meant they couldn't meet the sweetheart deals that they had set up. That we'll be doing much less than British Gas, and we'll do it, and and so on, so forth. And then when the gas price spiked up, and continued to spike because of the Ukraine war, I think 27 of the 40 of those all went bust. And if you go towards the current day, your situation is this: there's an oligopolistic company of five big energy companies, and there was a lot of best of the rest, and there's a lot of companies which are very dubious quality. Well, and there is now sort of talk like Kenneth, I think it's Kenneth Baverstock. He is in charge of one of the big 5, and he said that 10 million, I think it's 10 million homes are very short of cash for energy, and therefore the government should give £1,000 to all these people of 4 million homes. Yeah? And I said to myself, well, look, you're making £1,400,000 a year. Why don't you give £1,000 to all your customers? Oh no, he didn't like that. Then it turns out that there are people who set up the companies that went bust are now trying to get back to business again. There was one thing called, there's a guy called Mr. Cantwell Jones, age 61, Tim Cantwell Jones, age 61, and he had something called Future Energy, Northumberland Energy, and he started a new company called, he's now applied for a new company called Putney Energy, and it looks like Ofgem is going to allow it to go into business. Meanwhile, the government had to bail out all the customers of Future Energy and Northumbrian Energy to the tune of £94 each consumer. In fact, these failed business companies got the taxpayer to pay £2 million. And it's just out of order, the whole thing. Why are these guys allowed to be setting up new businesses when the other ones failed? And it's not good. It's not good at all. And meanwhile, governments can't seem to do anything about energy situation. And situation's going to get worse. I've talked about this before. The energy cap is set twice a year. And last October, we all know, nice April, it went up by 700 quid, taking the total average for a 3-bedroom house annual bill to 2,000 quid. Well, that is fuel poverty for a lot of people. But come next October, it's pretty sure as eggs are eggs that there's going to be another spike. And they're now talking about an energy cap of 2,500 or maybe even 3,000 quid. And that's going to put an awful lot into poverty. And so what is the government going to do about this? They don't seem to be able to do anything, despite what Mr. Sunak says. This is the situation, and it's deteriorating. And a lot of people are going to face that kind of problem. It's just outrageous, really.
Can I ask you a question? I see yesterday some suggestion that the 2 caps a year are going to be increased to 3 caps a year. What effect is that going to have?
Well, just employ more people at Ofgem, I think.
Does that mean to say that
no, actually,
increase would be more?
I can give you an exclusive story, because a very nice lady who works for Ofgem, I better not mention her name because it will probably get her into trouble, has moved into Lewes in the same road as me. So I was talking to her, and she actually told me there is about some professional cleansing of jobs at Ofgem. Can you believe it? Now, keep that to yourself.
Yes, right. You didn't hear it here.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, well, that's just, I mean, is professional cleansing is starting to look at those people who aren't performing or proved to be useless at their work?
Isn't it the old the idea of tidying up the sewer service and, too many people bloody time wasting and so forth.
Right. Okay, anything else to add to your rant this morning, your energy matters?
Oh, I think that's enough ranting for one morning, don't you?
Okay, it seems so. Let's then make a nice little closing for him. Energy Matters with Stuart Dolby. Energy Matters, Mirador Television. From the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, Energy Matters. So there we are, and here we are, the terrible threesome. We can't go back to the newspaper headlines because front pages because we've looked at them all. And where are we? We're at 16 minutes past 9 o'clock, so we're well into our hour of news. Young Max has been lurking there at the back, making the odd comment, which has helped fuel our debate. We normally give him a couple of minutes or so to tell us what's bothering the young. So what have you got to say for yourself this week, Max?
Not a whole lot, actually. I'm going to be on the show in, 20 minutes? I will be up here, hopefully, and then we'll talk for an hour and a half about whatever comes to mind. Right,
our free flow.
Yeah.
All right, Stuart, you are you buggered off the other day, and you're actually on the move again this afternoon. You're doing a lot of travelling at the moment.
Well, I love living in Lewes. I love very, very much traveling an awful lot. But I do feel you've got to get out of it de temps en temps, as the French would say. And most people agree with that because, after 2 years and 3 months of actually being locked down, locked in and pushed around, it's quite nice to go places, I think.
Where are you off to this time?
Edinburgh. Scotland.
Ah, right. Oh, lovely. This time of the year, I imagine that Edinburgh is absolutely superb.
Apparently, yeah.
Tell me, one of the places that you like going to, and you're very happy that it fulfills the need, is the Frontline Club. Can you tell us a little bit about the Frontline Club?
Yeah, it was set up by a guy called Vaughan Smith and his then wife, Vera Smith, I think in 2022, something like that. And he's an aristocrat actually, with a big estate in Norfolk, and he was in the army, I think, soldiers, and he became a cameraman. And the cameramen were all getting killed for some reason or other. Well, at the wars, that's why. And so it was a sort of tribute to them, I suppose. He set up the Frontline Club in Paddington. It's appropriate somewhere because this Place Street was actually a red light district. I grew up around there, and I remember it very clearly. There was a cinema down at the top, on the bottom of the road, at the Regal Cinema, or ABC, I think it was called, where there was a lot of old men in dirty Macs. And we were schoolboys, found a way of using a coat hanger to open the back of the what's it. And we went to see our old elders from school and told them about this. And they used to wait outside, wait for these old boys to be released and start beating them up. Talk about, low life in Paddington in 1950s. Anyway, the club is in Norfolk Place, in Place Street. And it's a club for war correspondents, war journalists. But it's blossomed into far much more. First of all, he not only got his own generation in, but he got the previous generation, which included people like myself and Don McCullin, Martin Woodicott, and people who were in Vietnam Wars and that kind of thing. And they do training, and they do all kinds of events which are really, really good. For example, at the moment, Paul Roy, one of Vaughan's associates, is in Ukraine teaching journalists, tutoring journalists in a situation they're in. And they've done a really good job. And it's become one of the most popular clubs in London now. I mean, you go there and it's very difficult to get a seat. And I keep saying, like I do at the Con Club in Lewes, I'm a member. You have to let me in.
Absolutely.
So, no, but, well, it's like all clubs, as you know. When I go there, I always see somebody I know. And that's what clubs are about, basically. But they're not just a social club in that sense. They are doing really, really important things.
Yeah. One of the people that I know who is a member is Salim Amin. Salim is the boss of a photo agency in Nairobi in Kenya called Camera Pix. Now,
he was in thinking the great Bob Geldof, wasn't he, about the starvation and everything.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But his father was his late father was the better known, and he's actually written a book and done a documentary on his father, My Father Mo, and quite rightly so. We actually gave Mo Amin I think the OBE or something sort. Yeah. But he was a cameraman, and he was following the Eritrean rebels in the 1980s, 1990s. The rebels set off an arsenal, a fuel dump, and it blew Mo's arm off. He was a cameraman. He needed his arm, and they built him a prosthetic arm,
and that is
so
in the
that
club.
he could actually,
That's in the club, in the cabinet, isn't it?
It is right. It's a special arm. But then it didn't stop him doing the dangerous things that cameramen do and journalists do. And he was on an Ethiopian airline flight, which was taken over by some drug-fueled hijackers. who argued amongst themselves and didn't quite know what to do, despite the fact that Mo tried to intervene. And they let the plane run out of fuel, and it dumped into the Indian Ocean and killed everybody on board, including Mo. So he's as a key member of the Frontline Club. Both Salim and Mo are characters in the extreme, and it does attract people like that. It attracts him.
Well, no,
Talk about character.
there's very interesting just to mention that, because there's quite a lot of debate now in the papers and at the club that why does anybody want to be a war correspondent? It doesn't make you rich. It doesn't make you famous. Well, occasionally it does. Occasionally makes you rich as well because of exchange rates, not expenses. But the exchange rate goes down in the war. For example, in Cambodia, for example, it used to be 7 reals to the American dollar. Yeah. As the war went on, it became 16,000 reals to the dollar. So we had to take a bag out to go and buy a cup of coffee. And that was it.
That's inflation.
Yeah. But also, people do ask, why people want to become a war correspondent. And it's very, very difficult to explain. I mean, we used to debate this, and some people say, well, it's the adrenaline kick, isn't it? And then other people, John Swain, I think, said, it's better than catching the 10 to 9 train to Croydon every morning, from Croydon to London every morning. I said, yeah, that's true. But see, the Vietnam War was rather different because it was the first television war, and the Tet Offensive of 1968, which was a whole attempted takeover by the North Vietnamese. All the terrible things that were going on were in American television or front rooms television every night, and the American public said, "What the hell is this? We're told we're winning this war, and they're invading our embassy. What's going on?"
Yeah.
And that made, that really brought about the end of the war, because Lyndon Johnson never declared a state of war there. So we were able to go where we want, do what we want, and ask the American troops what they were doing and so forth. And when this all came out, Johnson became unelectable. And you got Nixon, and it brought the end of the war. And therefore, you felt as a journalist, part of the media, you had done something worthwhile. I began to feel that, but it was only towards the end of my time. I think, this is why I did it.
Well, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, that's my view. Is I wasn't sure when I first went to Northern Ireland. That's what I wanted to do. There were other bigger fish to fry, but once you actually get there and you begin to realise the issues and the day-to-day effect on people of walking past a shop and not knowing whether the front of it is suddenly going to blow out and blow you with it, the adrenaline starts to flow.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, we here we are at 26 minutes past. We'll just very quickly recap, and it's easy to recap what's on the front pages this morning, because there are two things which to me, well, there are three things, I suppose. Two of them are inconsequential. One is that there's an MP that has been accused of rape and sexual assault. Wow. We all wanted to know that. And secondly, that the WAGs, the two wives of footballers who are facing off in the High Court on charges of or counter charges of libel and slander and so on, their husbands have now weighed in. So Wayne Rooney and whatever his name is, Vardy, are slagging each other off as well. So that's spreading, much to the thrill of all those people that think that is important.
Well, it's actually a comedy show, basically.
It is.
It's
yes.
absolutely,
And what would we do without it? It's pure Hollywood, isn't it?
Well, I don't know about that. It's certainly gutter press, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't get that kind of thing on the Financial Times, my dear. Oh my God, no.
Certainly not. Certainly not. Certainly not.
Well, look, if people are entertained by them, I think I often used to say, well, a friend I didn't say, a friend of mine used to say, those newspapers of a people whose lips move when they read.
Right. Let's just look at some of the actual headlines, though. One is inflation has hit 9%, and the chances are that it's going to nudge up to double figures. A man was arrested after an attack during a pitch invasion in Sheffield United's match last night, and he actually had to go at one of the players. Now, of course, this business of pitch invasions and so on keeps on going back. Are there enough stewards? And everybody goes through a lot of hand wringing. Oh, yes. There are enough stewards and so on and so forth. And then this happens. No, there aren't enough stewards.
To stop an entire crowd of football fans.
No, but then again, is why have stewards if you're not going to have some sort of system that can attempt to stop a pitch invasion? I mean,
at least they made it all seaters, seater stadiums, didn't they? When I was a kid, you'd be standing on the terraces,
right.
Propping up.
What can they do? Put fences up? I mean, that's not a great idea. That's not gone well in the past.
What's that? Sorry.
They can't put fences up.
Oh, right.
That's not gone well in the past.
Well, people like running on the pitch, don't they? And jumping and up and down, sort of thing.
Well, it does seem to me that the old Twickenham is on the terraces. The terraces ended about 4 feet below the wall that contained the pitch. So it was very, very difficult to invade the pitch there. I would have thought that there were some design things could have been brought in to protect players from this sort of thing. But there we are. Anyway, a man was arrested last night after football violence to all intents and purposes. That there are growing fears for the safety of soldiers from Azovstal steel plant as talks continue for the in the Ukraine war. Now, I've got left my eye a bit off the ball on this. Do I understand that they are being given some sort of safe passage, and that nobody trusts the Russians to allow them to have safe passage?
Well, that seems to be the general feeling.
Yeah.
Well, you can't trust the Russians or anything, can you?
No, it's so now. Have we got time? No, we haven't. We've hit 31. But Sky News has put out a spending calculator, and it tells you how much things have gone up since 2019.
Really? Oh, that's interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, we could we'll take a minute and take a quick look. But
17,000.
Here, see how much the spending has increased. There's a little table here, and there we go. Sliced white bread is that's gone up from 99p to 102.
That's not much.
No, it's not. It's only 3%. But large eggs have gone to 256 in 2017 to 248. Oh, they've gone down. Actually, eggs have gone down. So if you want bread and eggs as your basic diet, you should be all right. Your food bills shouldn't go up that much. But what's
the inflation in the beer? That's what I'd like to know.
Yes, I don't know that they give beer, unfortunately, not in this original one anyway. But whole milk has gone up from 109 to 127. That's 16%. A light bulb, which was £2.67, is now £3.30. That's up 23%. And an exercise class, you wouldn't want to know about that, neither do I. It's from £5.94 to £7.54. So which prices are increasing the fastest? Clothes have gone up the most. Women's wear now costs a third more than it did in 2017. Menswear prices have increased more than 25%.
Yeah, but in Lewis, you know, most of the shopping is done in charity shops now.
Well, that's
Clothes,
right. And so it
clothes.
should be. Yeah,
We're all closed by charity stuff.
absolutely.
Well,
Very
apart
good
from
stuff.
apart from your nicely tailored suits. Actually, my nicely tailored suits come from Vietnam, which are very, very nice. Very nice.
Right. So prices increasing the fastest is goods 22%, services 15%, and food 4.7%.
I doubt that.
Like I said, which one do you doubt?
The food.
You think the food is gone
Or way more.
much more?
Yeah, because I go shopping with my mum every time, and we are keeping an eye on the prices because we have to budget in a single parent household, and food is not up. Average 4.7% is way more than that.
Right. Okay. Then that is a good alert from Max, who actually is there. Is practically the practical shopping, and he's saying it doesn't matter what the survey people say. 4.7% is a misnomer. It's much more than that. Well, that's it for this first hour. We have to say goodbye. I'm not sure. Will you be with us at all, Stuart, or are you saying ta-ta? Anyway, say goodbye for this hour.
Yeah.
Max, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Right.
Bye.
We will see you in
Goodbye.
about 10 minutes. Until then, toodle pip.